Uh-oh. Okay, we'll start with this. We now have the undercard information for what is the Jack Catterall versus Harlem Eubank fight, which really wasn't on my bingo card after Jack lost to Arnold Barboza in Manchester, but I'll take it. I like the fight, and on the undercard, we're going to be seeing the ring return of former featherweight champion Skye Nicolson against an opponent that has yet to be announced in what is being billed as a featherweight contest. Featherweight, where she held the WBC title. I remember immediately after the Tiara Brown fight, there was some mention of Skye Nicolson potentially moving down to 122, presumably for an Ellie Scottney fight when Ellie was still over there, but now Ellie is at MVP. That doesn't necessarily take the fight off the table, but those are very bad optics. To lose to Tiara Brown, then leave the division, it's almost like they chased Skye out. That's what people were saying. Skye Nicolson did not take kindly to that. Responding to those critics, she said, "Please don't comment on things you know nothing about. That fight, the fight with Tiara Brown, was a mandatory defense and therefore no rematch clause was included. Tiara has been adamant on no rematch. The fight will eventually happen again, but for now, I'm focusing on what I can do. I'm naturally sitting lighter since the last fight, and my performance team have seen this as an opportunity to further unlock my potential and become a two-time world champion, something you'd never even dream of achieving. Now jog along and find something meaningful in your life so you can stop being obsessed with mine." A few passing thoughts. I never really thought it was a good idea to move down to 122 after that loss to Tiara Brown. It just looks too much like she's been run out of the division. And what does that do to Skye Nicolson's psyche, an otherwise confident and capable fighter who always has a chip on her shoulder? To leave the division under those circumstances, I don't think it would have been good. I think it would have affected her confidence. Now, this fight that she's about to have is registered as a featherweight contest, not a super bantamweight contest, so perhaps Skye and her team have doubled back on that. I still believe that Skye Nicolson can become a champion at this weight. I believe that if she can land the Nina Menka fight, this division's IBF champion, Skye can beat her. Nina just fought against Argentina's Daniela Bermudez for the second time and beat her for the second time. So she should be free. She should be available. I don't know with any certainty that that's who Skye is going to be fighting, but that's who I think she should pursue. That's who I think she needs to go after. Take the belt away from Nina so that you can bring it to a Tiara Brown fight. Then Tiara will have an incentive to give you the rematch. Yeah, because right now she doesn't want to. But if you bring a belt to the table, now you're cooking with oil. Now you're cooking with rice. And don't forget that even if she can't get Nina Menka in the ring, Amanda Serrano still holds 2 alphabet titles at this weight. But in all likelihood, Amanda will not be returning to the featherweight division after the Taylor fight. Win or lose. So in all likelihood, she's going to drop them. And thus, if Skye stays in the featherweight division long enough, she can pick one or some of them up to become a 2-time featherweight champion, then continue on her path to become this division's undisputed champion. Can she beat Tiara Brown in a rematch? Skye might want one, but I don't think she can change enough from one fight to the next in an immediate rematch situation, so perhaps it's a blessing in disguise that Tiara doesn't want to give her one. That gives Skye time to adjust, and that allows time for Tiara to slow down, because Tiara is 37 years old. time is on the Aussies' side. I only wonder if young Skye Nicolson will make any changes to her corner, any subtractions or any additions, because I've long maintained that while she is an effective outboxer, pure boxer, that's not always gonna work. You can't limit yourself to just using that one base style. It's gonna work for some fighters, but not others. I didn't think Tiara Brown would be the one to give her first professional loss, but how she gave her that loss, that bit of it, that I forecasted, that if Skye don't hurry up and learn how to handle herself on the inside, she's gonna be like a deer in the headlights when some aggressive fighter, some mauler, steps to her. Credit to Tiara Brown for using the right strategy. Pressuring Skye Nicolson mid-range to inside, flustering her, not giving her the room or the time to fight how she likes to fight. That's what you gotta do. And until Skye Nicolson learns to handle herself in the pocket, that's going to continue to be the situation. That's why it's probably better that she's not having an immediate rematch. She needs to work on that, because whether it's Tiara Brown or somebody else, you can't keep everybody on the outside. You can't fight everybody that way. We'll see who she ends up fighting in July on the undercard of Catterall versus Harlem Eubank, but it's actually good. It's good that she's getting back out there in a jiffy. She lost the Brown fight in March, and she's already on the bounce in July. That's how you do it. Men's bantamweight news. Junto Nakatani expressed his enthusiasm after his unification match this past weekend, saying, "I'm not too injured, so I'd like to fight as soon as possible. I'd like to have at least one more fight before the end of the year. There are many options, but I'm also thinking a lot about going to the super bantamweight division." Well, there are two other champions in the bantamweight division that Junto can pursue, but there still are questions about their availability since they may be unifying with each other, likely to seek refuge from him. That they could just as easily lose to Junto as they could to each other, but losing to Junto, you're gonna get hurt. Ryosuke Nishida did this past Sunday. Last week, Vasyl Lomachenko finally decided to call it a career and officially retire. Lomachenko, that was previously ranked at number 7 on the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list. This has allowed a vacancy to open up that Junto Nakatani now occupies. Zurdo Ramirez, previously ranked at number 8, is ranked at number 7. Junto is ranked at number 8. Bam Rodriguez is ranked at number 9. And Kenshiro Taraji is ranked at number 10. In the most danger of being bumped off. So you've got Junto situated ahead of Bam? Well, at least momentarily, Junto has been a champion at more weights than Bam Rodriguez. Junto has been a champion at 3 weights, whereas Bam has only been a champion in 2. However, Bam does have that unification match with Fumalele Kafu coming up, and if he wins that fight, depending on how he wins that fight, that might be enough to place him ahead of Junto. The guys in the bottom tier are interchangeable based on their activity. So Junto's got time and he's got options. He can see about unifying one more title at 118 before this year is out, and if none of those champions are available, he can then move up. Go up to Super Bantam and get your feet wet. Well, who do you recommend? Who should he fight? I think it was a little over a week ago when rumors were swirling that former 2-weight champion Luis Neri would be taking on Nick Ball in a Riyadh season show in August. Those rumors have since been debunked because that fight was supposed to go down on the undercard of Lopez versus Haney, which we all know isn't about to happen. And now Nick Ball is set to face Sam Goodman, not Luis Neri, which means if Luis is not facing Nick, he can go fight Junto. He's no stranger to Japan. No stranger to Japanese fighters. And that fight would service as a segue for a Nakatani versus Inoue fight, as Luis Neri would be a common opponent between them, leaving the door open for all of those who did it better conversations. Now, we all know that triangle theories don't work, but Luis Neri would be a good acid test for Junto Nakatani, who would be new to the weight and getting ready to face Inoue. I could go for that. Nakatani versus Neri? Or Nakatani versus Cardenas, Ramon Cardenas, who gave Naoya Inoue all he could handle in Inoue's last fight here in the United States. I could also go for that. Nakatani versus Cardenas. Tentatively, they want to do Inoue versus Nakatani in May of next year. That allows Junto a small window to squeeze in about 1 or 2 fights. Ideally, those 2 fights would be at 118 for undisputed, but like I said, we don't know that those champions even want to fight Junto. He's the most dangerous man at the weight, and they know it. They may elect to fight each other to seek refuge from him. So he just fought at the beginning of this month, which leaves him plenty of time to have another fight in, say, the end of September or October. Then, barring illness or injury, he could schedule another fight for early next year, say, at the end of January or sometime in February, en route to Inoue in May. And if it's about building the Inoue fight just a little bit more, it would help to fight the guys that Inoue fought. Luis Neri, Ramon Cardenas, maybe Marlon Tapales. It's tight, but it's doable. There are a lot of moving parts, and I understand that a lot of things would have to come together for him to have a schedule like that. But if nothing else, there is time, because he made short work of Ryosuke Nishida, and there is still plenty of time left in this calendar year to have one more fight. In men's heavyweight news, on the heels of this past weekend's heavyweight action, Justice Huni's team launched Wardley Result Appeal. Justice Huni's manager, Mick Francis, has revealed that they will appeal the result of Huni's clash with Fabio Wardley on Saturday night due to the speed of the count given to Huni by referee John Latham. Now, I don't expect that they're going to get anywhere with this because ultimately, it's up to the referee. It's at the referee's discretion. It always is. Not dissimilar from what happened with Usyk and Dubois. Some people think it was a legal punch, other people think it was a low blow, but ultimately it's not up to them. It's up to the third man in the ring to make the call, Louis Pabon, and he decided that it was an illegal punch. That was at his discretion, the same way that waving Huni off was at John Latham's discretion. So they can file an appeal and go through the process in the proper channels, but I don't think they're going to get anywhere. My thoughts on it, I do feel that the count was abrupt. I do feel that given how many rounds Justice Huni had won up until that point, he deserved a lot more consideration than he was given by John. But ultimately, home field advantage is a real thing. And I think that as soon as John saw that Fabio found his way back into the fight, scored a knockdown, he was in a hurry to rule it a knockout. That's how it looked to me. I don't blame Fabio for that, but that's how it looked. That's what I saw. Do I think Justice Huni deserves a rematch? I absolutely do, but I'm no wide-eyed optimist. I'm not naive. I don't think he's going to get one, at least not right away. Fabio Wardley has already set his sights on his next target. Cult hero Derek Chisora is still in the market for his 50th fight, looking for his 50th adversary. What will be his swan song? And Fabio Wardley has thrown his name into the hat. Now that could be big. Not Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury big, or Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank big, but big. You can definitely sell some tickets with this. Derek has amassed a cult following, and Fabio's stock is really high right now. Coming from behind the way that he did, that was a Rocky moment. That was a movie. Here in the United States, there are some who are likening young Fabio Wardley to the UK Bronze Bomber, the UK's Deontay Wilder, the power in that right hand.
18 knockouts, 19 wins. Nobody survived. Even the dude that he didn't knock out, he knocked him out in the rematch, bro. Wardley is officially the new Wilder on a higher level, bro. He's knocking dudes out from the beginning, bro. Named opponents. He's taking them out, bro. Olympians out. Fucking former champs, you out. It's crazy, bro. And look, he looked vulnerable. They gonna jump on him, but that power shows that, yo, you gotta be careful for every single second of that fight.
It is a tenuous parallel, a tenuous association, but I definitely see what young Nestor means, that we've seen on several occasions Deontay Wilder be down on the cards and getting outboxed, and out of the clear blue sky, his right hand availed him, and you could say the exact same thing about Flavio on Saturday. The difference being that The difference between Fabio and Wilder is that Deontay Wilder is an Olympian. People tend to forget that. He won the bronze. He has the amateur background that Fabio doesn't have. Before Flavio went pro, he only had a few white-collar fights, and for those not familiar with the UK white-collar circuit, that's a semi-pro circuit. It's nowhere near as rigorous as having to compete in all those tournaments, the nationals, the qualifiers for the Olympics. Fabio doesn't have that. So the fact that he stepped up in competition so early in his career, having no real amateur background, but fighting a seasoned amateur, an Olympian, in a Fraser Clark, a standout amateur in Justice Huni, an unbeaten fighter like himself in David Adilier, I would say that Fabio Wardley stepped it up a lot sooner than Wilder did when he was coming through, even though Wilder actually had amateur experience. See, these guys that Fabio is fighting are the kind of guys Wilder didn't fight till he was well into his boxing career, with 20, 30 fights. I definitely have a deep admiration for Fabio Wardley. The guy's all heart, but addressing the potentiality of a Justice Huni rematch, I definitely think there's a precedent for one. I do, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to get it because they came too close to beating Fabio, and in a rematch situation where Justice Huni would not be a short notice opponent, where he would have a full camp for Fabio, and where he would have all the experiences from the first fight to draw from, it's too much of a banana skin. Now, this fight's aesthetic was exactly what I envisioned. Everything that I thought Justice had working for him worked for him. The movement, the angles, the hand speed, the combinations, the slipping, the rolling. Who he reminds me of is a Geet Caballel minus the power. That Justice Huni, he's really not that big a puncher. He doesn't land with the same authority as an Geet Caballel, but the other stuff, the mobility, the agility, the combinations, it's all there to where if you give him a second crack at the apple, he might get you this time because he came dangerously close the first one, and I don't think Fabio and Frank, they stupid. You hear me say this all the time. Rematches are often won by the fighter who can change, irrespective of what happened in the first fight. Rematches are often won by the fighter who can adjust, and that is more Justice Huni than Fabio Wardley in spite of the knockout, because Justice is the boxer, not the puncher. Justice is the cerebral one, the technician, so a few tweaks and being mindful of that right hand, he could definitely win a rematch. So why the hell would Frank and Fabio give him the chance to do that? When they could go over there, they could box Derek Chisora in a big show, make a truckload of money? It's common sense. I believe that Justice deserves the rematch, but I do not expect that Fabio is going to give it to him, at least not right away, not next. But that's okay. When Joseph Parker was battered, was stopped by Joe Joyce, many people felt that that was the end of Joseph Parker, but look at where he is now. Justice Huni, who is comparatively younger, he can certainly come back from this and use it as a learning experience. Never take your eyes off the ball at any point in the fight, least of all against a puncher. You take him back to Australia, you have him fight one or two easy ones before you step him up again, have him fight in some eliminators. Justice Huni still represents the next wave of elite heavyweights. He's an elite boxer, Fabio's an elite puncher. It is what it is.